Hello guys and girls and welcome back. It's Big John here. The app's at the bottom of the screen if you like to listen to my music. So is all the relevant information that's spoken about in this video. And today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be teaching you about how to use Pip Hunter on a 5 or 3 minute chart. Sometimes as well you can use it on a 15-minute chart. But all of this is spoken about in this video by Taylor. He's going to show you how you can use the system in a new strategy to scalp. So I hope this is going to be enlightening for a lot of people and I hope you're going to enjoy it. Let's get straight into it.
Hello, so I am Taylor, the creator of Pip Hunter, and today I'm here to show you a nice, interesting little scalping method. All the indicators will be in the description box down below, and I will make sure Big John has access to everything he needs to give you all the complete method, and let's dig into it. So first I'm going to start off with a quick rundown of all the indicators and what they've got them looking like. So if we start with the Momentum Extreme, this is completely standard as it comes out the box. So you'll find they are completely standard. Then we go to the baseline, which is where we start having some changes. So I have changed the up and down trend markers, don't make a difference because I've got them set to off. The alligator ribbon again is currently set off. The teamer ribbon I've got set to 1 hour. The other changes you'll note are the fast range I changed to 2, and the bottom dots again, they do not matter because they're switched off. So if I go through this, you'll notice that the only things I've left on are the white and black candles for overbought and oversold conditions. I have left the stars on, and I just left the background colour for the teamer ribbon. I didn't bother with the lines that make the outsides of the cloud because they just looked a little bit messy to me, but that's entirely personal preference. The other things I've got on my chart are a super trend, which I've got set like that, and that's just for stop loss placements, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. There's my settings for it. And last but not least, a multiple moving averages, because I wanted to condense it down into less indicators for people. So I found multiple moving averages that I could set just simply so I could have less indicators. If you wanted to use 3 separate EMAs, that is more than fine. 7, 13 and 21, and I have them set to high-low divided by 2 because that's slightly smoother than by close. Now the way this method works is we are basically riding trends. So if I write a list of things on the screen that we're looking for, so things we are looking for, so requirements. 1, we are looking for the 3 moving averages to be lined up. So that means 7 over 13 over 21 in a buying, and 7 under 13 under 21 for selling. We are also looking for the correct start to be in effect. Now, because it can't have multiple of the same direction, you'll get a buy one and then later on you'll get a sell one. If you've got a star in effect, it's going to stay in effect until it comes up with the opposite. We also look to be above or below the teamer cloud, so above or below teamer cloud, and we look for the positive momentum in the Momentum Extreme wave. And last but not least, the super trend has to be on the right side. And that is what we require to have a valid trade. Now, how we go about placing our trade is very simple. When all of the things line up, so I'll give examples in a second, but when all of the things line up, set pending order on the 7 EMA. And stop loss is just touch, literally just a touch, so taking into account like minor broker manipulation, just a touch past the super trend, and I'll explain this in a second. And take 8 profits at 50. I'll explain those in 1 second actually, because it'll make more sense. But that is how we would then go about our trade. So if we were to look at, say for instance, this on the left just here, the way we're looking at taking our trade is, so we've seen we've come above the Teamer cloud, which means we're only looking for buys. We've got a positive blue star, which again is bullish, so we're only looking for buys. All of our EMAs are flared out nicely, so at any point after here we are looking for a buy entry. Where do we get the buy entry? Well, a buy entry is on the 7 EMA, so if I put my line on the 7 EMA, where it first happens would be there, and we would set our stop loss hanging just barely on the super trend. And the way we would take profit is, and this is where I'm going to grab another indicator just for temporary reference, and this is one which I will show you a really effective way of managing this. So if you go to this and just add a couple of zeros on the end just to make it a really long time frame, we're looking at 0.057 as a number. So if we go, and this is how I manage it, 0.057, 3 min. And I'll show you why I put the time frame in a minute as an important part. So when the price had reached 0.057 more than my entry, I'd have been looking at taking 50% off the table, and in this case taking 5 pips off the, well, almost 6 pips off the table isn't really worthwhile, so I would be looking more towards sort of 10 or so. But then from there on out you're literally just going to trail it, and you can keep your stop loss in line with the Teamer cloud. So as stop loss moves forward with the super trend, you just keep mirroring it, and you'd have seen this one would have stopped you out here on that candle, and that would have been 15 pips. The alternative, obviously that's only if you're physically putting your stop loss there. If you're doing a virtual stop loss, you may have even had it run further, where the break of super trend was over here at 30 pips. The other things to note are there are other exit conditions. So the following are all valid exit conditions, and I will write that as notes again to one side. So valid exit conditions: 1, counter star. 2, so a counter star is a good valid exit condition because it's telling you that chances are we're going to have broken the trend. EMAs crossing. So if any of the EMAs cross each other, it's also a good time to get out. So you'll note that right here, the green EMA crossed the red EMA, so that was also another trend weakness sign, so we'd get out. And, wave crossing 0. So if, say, nothing else had happened and this had crossed 0 here, that would also be an exit condition because it's gone to bearish. And last but not least, super trend breaking. So in the case of here, the opposite side of super trend was made, and that's why we got out. Now, how we identify a position, because at the end of the day it was a nice 7.58 to 1, and if I leave that there so you can take a screenshot, if I go to, in fact let's just be creative, let's go to US 30. and you'll see similar position here, which would have been a nice one to ride. So if we just grab that one for reference, your entry point was, your cross was here, so that was your entry point. My stop loss would have been just under the Teamer wave. In fact, I couldn't have entered on that candle because the star didn't appear till one later, so I've got to find my entry, which would be here, because you're waiting for that red line touch, which was on that candle, nicely in the wick. My stop loss is going to be there, and let's see how far it would have ridden. We would have ridden that almost to the top, so our exit point was on that candle there where it broke the super trend, which point was also at 10.31 risk to reward trade. And if at any point it was going to stop you out, you would have always had your stop loss in profit after about, how many candles is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 candles, you were already stops in profit, or break even at minimum. So it's going to help you keep out of sort of reversing trends, and it should get you in for a nice tight stop in a nice trend. I have back tested this. Again, here's another little trade that you could have taken with it, and I back tested it on US 30 mostly, and was finding when I did my back test in the end of July I started at, I was hitting about 86% efficiency. I didn't continue it past the end of July, I just ran out of time. However, I have been using it on other pairs and on other time frames. The other time frame you could use it on would be a 5 minute, where again you'll find stop loss gets slightly tighter, slightly more open, but you might also then get into a longer trend because of that. And again, you could probably run it on the 15 minute. Again, it starts getting a lot looser in terms of stop loss placement, but for some things you might find that necessary. Let's pick Euro Ord. Would be a bit messy, especially if you come into this sort of where it's kind of nondescript. Here your stop loss is very large, but it's running. GA is about the same. You'll find that some things just, well, they do play, because you do get sections like this where they are good, but they're not as effective on a higher time frame. Stuff like on the 5 minute, then suddenly you can get in on areas like this and like this. But again, you must back test it on the pairs you're comfortable with and the pairs you like trading. For me, this seems to work best with things like US 30, GJ seems to like it, and basically anything that goes in nice long trends. You'll find gold can work with it, because you'd catch moves like that, you'd catch a move like that, and like this, and you tend to stay out of things where it's less optimal, like this where it's quite choppy. You're very unlikely to get into any of that. And here you would have found a nice little entry in there. So it's a nice simple method that you can go and play with, and you should find relative success with it. Again, there are 3 time frames you can use it with: the 3 minute, the 5 minute, or the 15 minute. And you may find that you can use it on higher time frames, but you will need to adjust your Teamer cloud accordingly and make it look right. To define what looks right, if I just go back to US 30 again, to define what looks right, it should be slow enough that you're not continuously sitting in it, but quick enough that it's going to react relatively early in a trend. So in this case, that is probably about right. If I jump up to the hourly, then you're probably going to be looking for I'm going to make a guess, a 4-hour Teamer cloud. Ooh, that's, yeah, 4-hour Teamer cloud would work. If not, you might have to jump to the daily, which would be a bit big. Yeah, the daily would be just somewhat too big. Again, I would only place, so if I jump back down to the 15 and I'll adjust this back down, if I put that to 4 hourly, see what that looks like. So I would only be looking for a sell once I've broken through my Teamer cloud, and I wouldn't be looking for a buy until I've crossed through it fully. So that would still be selling until here where I'm looked for a buy, I've crossed back in, looked for a buy again as it's left, only look for a sell, only look for a buy, still only looking for a buy, then you could look for a sell, and up here you'd be looking for buys. So you're using your Teamer cloud as your final bias confirmation along with everything else. So if I just go back to GJ where I'd marked up my entry conditions, then there is a good set of rules for you, and nice, that's a big candle. If I just shift that up, and you've got that. Now the way I would go about setting my ATRs is, what I would do is, if you're, before you even get into your pairs that you like, so you know your pairs you like, I would run through grabbing an average true range of 1400, so if I just put that to 1400, and just run through going pair by pair, quickly note down what it is on the time frame you want. So you've got your notes, and I would do as I did with GJ, just put your time frame and the value of it. And so if you were to, if I just open a position here, if you had a random position, your first take profit where you're taking 50% off the table would be at 0.057 in this case, which would be your 1 times ATR. You may find you want to do it to 1.5 times ATR, which in this case would be, let me just quickly do the maths. 5.7 times 1.5 is 8.5. So if you wanted to do 1.5, you would have your first take profit set at 8.5. And if you wanted to do it at 2 times, you'd be setting it at 11.4. And that is how I would, 1, identify a scalping position. 2, it's also going to let you identify positions which you can have a nice tight stop. And 3, it should identify where you've got a nice strong trend, you've got a nice clean entry point by going, oh, I'm going to get in right on that EMA line. Once you've got in on that EMA line, because you've got such a tight stop loss being on like the 3 or 5 minute chart, you should be then pretty confident in going, right, I can't lose very much, so work out the lot size appropriate for that trade size, and then just take consistent profits. Should be looking to take profit within sort of 10 minutes on your first position, and then letting it trail out otherwise. I hope that's useful to some people, and I shall continue helping people in the chat, and I shall see you around in the Pip Hunter room soon. And the next video from me will be a long-term stock position for zero leverage stock holdings.
Okay, so that about sums it up. As you can see, Taylor's given us a good explanation on how you can use this strategy to scalp. So if you'd like to join the Discord and anything like that, the link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to get into anything to do with my mentorship program or anything like that, and you'd like to learn more about how to trade Forex, please use the link below. Just give me a DM. Anybody that does put any messages that's a WhatsApp numbers or any of this stuff, it's fraudulent. So please do not call them. Please do not answer them, because you will lose your money if you do. And hopefully what I'm aiming to do as well in futures, I'm aiming to do more frequent YouTube videos. I'm aiming to get to a schedule of having at least 3 a week. So I hope that helps, and I wish you all to have a wonderful and fantastic day or evening, depending where you are. Peace.